Next, the Olympia International Art and Antiques Fair opened yesterday. Now in its 43rd year, it's one of the most important of its kind in the world. But before you conjure up an image of dealers who are almost as old as their antiques, this year sees its youngest ever dealer take a stall. Miles Davis-Kielar is a 21-year-old dealer from Tasmania, and he joins us along with his fellow dealer, the not much older 23-year-old Mathew from London. Miles, do you get some funny looks as being someone so young at a fair like this?
Oh, I do. Usually, the customers actually think I'm an employee who's working for the gallery.
So they ask to see your boss, do they?
Yes, they do.
Same experience with you, Mathew?
Yeah, they think my dad's just hiding around the corner or something like that.
And then I presume you talk and you tell them, and they get that you know what you're talking about. I mean, you are so young. How long have you been doing this?
Well, I've been collecting for a lot longer, but I've been dealing since I was 14. So most people I'm dealing with are, in their 60s and 70s. So they're getting used to me slowly, but it's taking some time.
Because, I mean, I presume, like you said, it's not always a young person's game to start collecting antiques. It usually gets a bit older. So I presume there's often a disconnect between the seller and the buyer. Or is that not true?
No, often the older people actually want to help, and they're very supportive. They often lend me books, or they used to at least. I still do now. But when I was collecting, going around 8, 9, they'd sort of lend me books on boxes, snuff boxes, silver, English furniture. And generally they're quite supportive.
Fantastic. Now we've got some pictures of the stuff that you deal in and you work with, and there's a great picture first that I want to ask you about. You with an emu on the tube. We're going to see that on screen now. Tell us what's going on here, Miles.
Right, well, I went to a market, saw this fantastic rhea. It's a South American sort of large bird. Wanted to buy it at 6 in the morning, so I did. And of course, I don't drive. So what does one do? The tube.
You must have had some funny looks.
I did. 2 people screamed, and I got many funny looks. It was interesting.
But certainly worth it for the photo.
Indeed.
Now, another piece that that is yours, one you're selling, I understand, is a Viennese golden clock, which you'll see on the screen. Absolutely stunning piece. Tell us about this one.
Well, it's a fantastic clock. It's unbelievably rare. Very few clocks of this type survive. There's only one other we can trace. It's almost certainly by a chap named Carl Schmidt, who won the bronze medal at the first Austrian Industrial Exhibition of 1835. There's a mirror in the V&A, which is signed by Carl Schmidt. It's the only piece of his work that we can firmly attribute to him. And it's got marked similarities. You can see it's from almost certainly the same workshop. Another chap it might be by is Nicolas Rose, who made a very similar nécessaire. We can't trace many pieces of his work, but he made a very similar nécessaire, which was applied to Ferdinand VII of Spain with his imperial cipher on it.
So how much would something like this clock cost?
That's about £10,500.
£10,500, not insignificant. On from clocks to a skull now, Mathew, something you've got, terracotta skull from the early 18th century. Tell us a little bit about this. We'll see it on screen now.
I mean, the idea of a skull and the reminder of death, which essentially it is looking at your desk, waking up every morning and always knowing that you will eventually die, which is very sad, but when you think about the Great Plague, everybody lost their family, their friends. They couldn't escape it, so the only way to get over it, to really come to terms with it, is just, well, exactly, it's coming to terms with it.
So this is almost something that you have at home, even in your bedroom, just to wake up and look at it.
Yeah, you have wonderful paintings from right through the Middle Ages, the late Middle Ages to mostly the 17th, 18th century, paintings and sculpture. And it was all over Europe and even in the Middle East, in Asia, all around the world, because it was so common. But the skull was probably sculpted it's a Florentine skull, a great Florentine artist from the 18th century. Terracotta being the material of the earth in abundance, but so few can actually make it a wonderful.
Mathew, tell us about the fair itself. I said it's one of the most important of its kind. What is it? How important is it for people in your professions?
It's very important. It's the one of the biggest important fairs that we have in the country, and in Europe, we see people every single day from a different country coming over just to see us, and they don't make any other trips throughout the entire year apart from these 2, but mostly just the Summer Olympia, because so many dealers are exhibiting from. I've got an Italian dealer opposite me, there's a Portuguese dealer downstairs, I know, Dutch dealers, all over the world. It's really international, and there's some amazing objects. And it's buyable. You could go in there, and I'm sure you could find something for £100, £200 to £200,000. So every single pocket it suits for.
Mathew Holder and Miles Davis-Kielar, thank you so much for coming in and telling us about the two youngest dealers there. And if you want to go and see what they have on offer, indeed anything else going on at the fair, the Olympia International Arts and Antiques Fair opens to the public today, and it runs until the 28th of June at, of course, Olympia. They're going to run off now to set up their stalls.